Good evening, Leeds. It's me, Mark O'Brien, with you on the bucket list, and boy, have we got something tasty for you tonight. I'm not about myself, of course. I'm talking about these nice bits of cake in front of me. Tonight on the show, we're joined by Lynn Hill, the genius behind Clandestine Cake Club, a cake club that's conquered the world. And we've got Linda Croal, who's one of the organisers here in Leeds. These two have brought me cake, which of course puts them towards the top of my favourite bucket list guests ever. We'll be talking to them, we'll be paying a visit to Oakwood to see the club in action, and we'll see more of our daredevil Charlotte Armitage jumping up and down on a trampoline. TV gold right there, I'm sure. Stay with us for the next half hour for all that and more. Lynn, Linda, thank you very much for joining us on the show tonight. I'm finding it hard to even concentrate on the both. You know, normally I'm nice to our guests, but I've got this staring at me right now. But we're going to put that to one side for a moment and not worry about the cake. Lynn, tell me about Clandestine Cake Club. It's not only hard to say, it's got a good history. Tell me a bit about how you started it.
Well, I was doing a secret tea in my own home where I was baking cakes and doing sandwiches. And we had some wonderful people come along, and I thought about the idea of doing a cake club. So I searched the internet and couldn't find anything. So I thought, well, I'll create one myself. But I wanted it to be in the theme of being secret and slightly clandestine. And I think someone on social media suggested the word clandestine. So I created the Twitter account and the website. And we had our first event in December in Leeds in 2010. And for nearly 5 years on, we're now at nearly 200 clubs and probably about 14,500 members. So from that first event that we had in December in Leeds, there was about 11 members and 6 cakes. We've now gone through thousands. I think I worked it out. It was something like 16.7 million calories, according to all the events, and on average how many cakes people would have baked, but something like 16.7 million calories in 4 years.
I don't know, this sounds like the start of the challenge. See how many calories I can get through on this show in a week. Lynn, it's fantastic what you've done to spread the good word of cake around the world. But you started, as you said just then, you started off with the secret tea room.
Yes.
Tell me about that. So that was an event where you brought people together in your own home.
It was, at that time there was a supper club movement in London, and I wanted to create something the equivalent of a secret tea room in Leeds, because baking is the thing that I do mostly. But I like the idea of getting strangers together. The thing that links them is the food. And it was on one occasion when I was listening to the people sat around my table, and I think one person said, I don't want to leave. So I basically said, well, let's put the kettle on and we'll have some more tea. And then I realised that the link between those strangers was food. And with it being such hard work doing this once a month, I thought, well, how can I get people together over food, possibly cake, but get them to do the whole baking themselves. But I wanted it to concentrate on whole cake, because at that time we have, and I think we still have, another club in Leeds that concentrates on cupcakes and the judging of cupcakes, and I wanted to do the opposite of that. But over the years we've discovered that if you were to get whole cakes together, there's interaction and conversation begins between strangers, because you ask a person next to you, would you like a slice? And when you actually open up the cakes, then you could actually see what's inside the cakes as well, and that's when the conversation begins, such as what filling it is, what topping it is, and how did you do that, and that's when the hints and tips and recipe swapping begins. Yeah.
It's a whole social element around cake, which,
yes.
Linda, you started the group, well, you're now part of the group in Headingley and Meanwood.
Yeah.
What made you want to get involved to begin with?
Love of cake.
That's as good a reason as any, but it's fantastic to be around people who just come together.
It is, it's just one of those things. It's like, I read about it in a magazine and I thought, oh yeah, I've been looking for something like that, so immediately went on the net and joined one of the events, and it's just really, it's hints and tips and people who have like a shared interest. And it's like yesterday, in the meeting we had yesterday, there's like an angel food cake, and I've been wanting to try one of those for ages, so it's like So that's where'd you get the recipe from, and just swapping stuff like that. But yeah, it's that strangers becoming friends over cake.
As you're saying all this, I'm just thinking, how are you both such svelte people? Like, is it that you're making cakes for everybody else, that you beef up everybody else to look like me, and then you don't get to enjoy it? I hope it's not like that. Lynn, tell me, what are these that we've got here right in front of us today?
Well, the cake that I've made today is a mishmash of flavours, but in the sense the sponge itself has ground almonds, which helps to keep a cake nice and moist. On the outside, I actually made some sugar brittle, and I crushed that with some of these amarettini biscuits to enhance the almond flavour that's in the sponge cake. And then this cream here is a mix of mostly double cream that's whipped with a little bit of cream cheese, some vanilla paste, and then I've just decorated with these little amarettini biscuits.
And this one?
This is my favourite is chocolate anything, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So that one's just the basic chocolate cake that I tend to do, and then I thought we'd go for a little bit of Easter on it.
You see, I'm controversial like this in that well, I'll tell you the truth, everybody I know says that I always say that I don't like chocolate cake, chocolate this and that, but then when I'm actually presented with it, I just devour the whole thing. I always think chocolate cake is a bit much, but chocolate, I like bars of chocolate,
no,
but
I
chocolate
tend to find that chocolate cake it's always been disappointing. If you get chocolate cake and chocolate desserts, have always found them really dry. So that's one I've honed to perfection, so I hope you like that one.
I think we'll have to try these. Just to assess this properly, just to assess this claim, we'll try these. Well, whilst you both cut a piece of these wonderful cakes, so we can, do a proper taste test here, just to see if your claims about these cakes, to make sure they live up to the promise. Just this weekend, you were out with the Clandestine Cake Club. It is hard to say, isn't it?
It is hard to say.
Clandestine Cake Club in North Leeds for an event at Tasty in Oakwood, and we, being the good people that we are, interested in joining people who offer us a bit of free food, went out to join you.
Well, the first Clandestine Cake Club was held in Leeds City Centre in December 2010, and that was just one club that covered the whole of Leeds. But it's been going for 4 years now, and we have nearly 200 clubs worldwide. There's probably about 130, 140 clubs in the UK, and we have several clubs that are overseas, so there's quite a lot of clubs, and we have about 14,500 members worldwide. But from just one little club in Leeds has now grown to a huge gathering of cake lovers, I like to think. I think it's been picking up over the years, and certain programmes such as the Great British Bake Off and lots of baking programmes, and even for comic relief they're actually doing bake-offs. There's a constant resurgence throughout the year. It may just wane a little bit, but I don't think baking itself will die down at all, because people have always baked at home. They baked for their families, baked for their friends, they baked for their children's school, they baked for charities to raise money. So baking will carry on whether people are baking cakes or any form of baking. It will just keep on going and growing as well. We have about 12 cakes here, and Kay has actually made some really little labels here, and as you can see, one of them is a Delicia cake, which I understand is a Polish type of cake, but it's very resemblance of a Jaffa cake, and it has chocolate and orange flavours inside. And also we have ginger, carrots, nut cakes. Again, people are inspired to use different flavours and themes and ingredients. And the cake I brought today is actually a Swiss roll, and what I did today was I made a brittle, combined that with some little amarettini biscuits and blitzed them together, and just created a cream cheese frosting and basically made a Swiss roll. Really, the Cake Club will grow. As I say, we have 14,500 members worldwide, and members are joining all the time, and clubs are creating. And later this year, in September this year, there's going to be another Clandestine Cookbook out. And what it is, it's going to be a collection of members' recipes. Some of them are mine, some of them are members. And it's going to be a companion to the first book, the first Clandestine Cake Club book, which came out 2 years ago. But at the moment we've been having photo shoots to take the pictures of cakes. There's going to be 100 recipes, and that will be out in September. So really, for the future of the Cake Club, it's just going to grow and grow.
Well, you're joining us back in the studio at exactly the right time, viewers. You know exactly when to join us here as we tuck into a good bit of cake. But Lynn, tell me, you're no novice to all of this. You've been around, you've been on television, you've written books. I wish I could say that Made in Leeds was the first appearance, but you know, you've seen some celebrities before and you've been telling them about cake. Tell me about some of the interesting shows you've been on.
Well, since I started this, I've met some really interesting people, and some of the shows that I was fortunate to be on was Eric Landlord. He has a Cake Boy cafe bakery in London. That was a competition where I was up against 2 or 3 other bakers, and you actually won a masterclass with Eric in the afternoon, and I was fortunate to win that. Following that, there was Alan Titchmarsh's show, where I was invited to bring some members down with me, and that was a difficult task, trying to decide who to come along. And the 4 of us, we went down on the train, and we were picked up by chauffeur-driven cars, taken to the studio, really looked after. We were there all day long.
We didn't quite offer the same level of service, I'm afraid, but we'll work on it. How was Alan?
Wonderful. And Paul Hollywood was there, and the studio was set out, and he was actually, we took a cake each down, and he actually tasted our cakes. He wasn't judging them in any way, but he was really kind. We made some really nice cakes. And then the One Show came to my house to do some filming, and we created a special event in Leeds. And when that was aired, Matt Allwright was part of the programme as well. And I remember his words, he said, "Be prepared." This is when the show was aired, and I wasn't prepared, and the website absolutely crashed.
Oh. Boy, you learn from these things, but you know, people know not to just go on your website now. You've also produced this Clandestine Cake Club cookbook. There's a lot of C's in this, you know.
There is.
I'm going to trip over my words more and more. Tell me about tell me about the inspiration behind the book.
Well, it contains about 120 recipes. Not all of them are mine, but a good portion of them are from members. But they are all home recipes. They're all achievable, nothing too difficult about them. And it's been quite a success, and so much so that there's going to be another book out in September this year.
Fantastic. How do you find so many recipes that you're now working on a second book?
As I say, they're not all mine. There's probably about 25% of the recipes in each of the book are mine. But members have their own recipes as well that they've either adapted in some way, or they've been inspired by other recipes. And some of the recipes are actually handed down from grandmother to mother and handed through the family. So that's what this collection is. And the next book out is in September. And this is more of a companion to this. It's going to be quite different, but there will be about 100 recipes.
Remarkable. Well, Lynn, I think we're going to have to talk more about a new Made in Leeds show on cake. It's just come to mind right now. I think that's something that's worth pitching somewhere. Linda, it's lovely to have you with us. While I help myself to a bit of cake, you go put the kettle on at home. We'll be back after the break with that daredevil Charlotte Armitage, who's going to be giving it some welly up and down on a trampoline. You know you're not going to want to miss that.